Hello, hopefully all is well with you and yours. It is a gloomy day here at the meeting place of heaven and earth, and I wanted to share out this link really quick, just so anyone who wants to join the live stream. I'm not planning on staying on here for very long because I have some other things that I got to get done today, but I did want to have a few words and say hi. So give me just 1 second. Do. All right, so I wanted to briefly mention a few things in passing. This is the Clementine Homilies, which I actually didn't get to see the Christspiracy movie. It was, hopefully you guys can hear me over that obnoxious noise. I apologize for that. But anyways, the Christspiracy movie, Kyle, didn't they reference specifically the Clementine Homilies? Hi, by the way. Hopefully all is going well for you, and it's a nice sunny day because it's not here. Chris says, good afternoon, Queen. Much love and positive energies to you. Thank you. I appreciate that. David says, you're on. Cal says my sound is somewhat muffled. Maybe my hair's in the way. Oh. All right, is that better? I almost didn't join you this morning, so I did press through the urge to not, and here we are. So I'm happy to be with you. Faith, how are you? Hi, Queen, is what Faith said. So anyways, I wanted to briefly mention the Clementine Homilies because, like I said, it is becoming more popular. A lot of people are waking up to the original teachings of Christ and how the original followers of the way actually did God's will. They were vegan. And this book I actually got because it has some really great teachings in it, along with the Clementine recognitions. These are, Clement is supposed to have been the apostle, I think, who came after Peter. But don't quote me on that because I actually don't remember. Anyways, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And Peter and Clement are talking throughout the recognitions, and then Clement has the epistle to James and all of these other teachings. So anyways, the reason that I got this is ultimately for the vegan teachings. Frankly, I don't care who wrote the scriptures or where they come from. I don't care what religion they're from. All religions have some truth to them, and knowledge, like ancient teachings, that we should embrace and use rather than choosing ignorance, and allowing ourselves to be divided and conquered and shy away from wisdom just because it comes from a different circle or different culture than we are from. And I also wanted to mention, along that same vein, I met up yesterday with someone who is a local here in town, and they are organizing a Wesak, I think that's how you pronounce it. It is a Buddhist festival of enlightenment, and I am actually going to go and check that out. I won't be recording or anything because it's like I'm not going there with the intent of recording. I want to actually go and experience it and try to get from it whatever I can, especially in regards to enlightenment and spiritual growth. I want to take, not just little baby steps, but leaps, and I want to get to where I'm going. So that is starting on next Sunday at 4 p.m. So we'll have another live stream before then, which maybe I'll talk a little bit more about the details of what it is. But I'm kind of planning on doing some like fruit feasting and fasting to lead up to it, to try to, purify myself and actually get myself in the right physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual place to receive whatever things can come from that ceremony. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I will keep you in the loop. But back to the Clementine Homilies, there's a lot of interesting little tidbits in here. There is a lot of doctrine that's a little bit more dry, but there are some really fascinating things. Like it talks about the law to the giants or demons, and what I have highlighted here says, unless any one of his own accord subject himself to you, worshiping you and sacrificing and pouring libations, and partaking of your table, or accomplishing aught else that they ought not, or shedding blood, or tasting dead flesh, or filling themselves with that which is torn of beasts, or that which is cut, or that which is strangled, or aught else that is unclean. Um, Sorry to say before, I didn't actually highlight this part, but basically um, the law to the giants or demons basically say you can't mess with them unless they do these things. So by partaking in sacrifice and pouring libations, by praising, by worshiping these demons and other false entities, you are then able to, by these laws, those demons and giants are able to come and mess with you. You're opening a door, you're allowing it to happen. So, but those who betake themselves, to my law, you not only shall not touch them, but shall also do honor to. That's kind of interesting, the whole idea of demons doing honor to you because you actually follow God's law and do what is right. I have mentioned it many times before. Demons are really intelligent. Usually, when we refer to demons, we're referring to the species jinn. If you asked animals what species is demons, they would be saying humans, right? Because of how we act. So, anyways, the jinn, the ones that are acting as demons to us, they know that karma is real. So, by getting us to choose the dark side, right, they not only offer the good and the bad, they, the demon on your shoulders whispering, go and eat that, that cake or whatever is not the good option, to lead you in that direction. So it's not exactly, oh, they just offer it to you and you're the one that's bad that's choosing it. Well, you are wrong for choosing it, but you also are having this demon on your shoulder that's like whispering, that's telling you to do this, and also that's living vicariously through you. These scriptures also talk about how, I gotta probably have it one here. Yeah, it's right here basically. Um, but the reason why the demons delight in entering into men's bodies is this: being spirits and having desires after meats and drinks, right? Alcohol and the flesh of innocence and sexual pleasures, but not being able to partake of these by reasons of their being spirits, uh, and wanting organs fitted for their enjoyment, they enter into the bodies of men in order that they can obtain these things that they want. They live vicariously through you. They get those pleasures. They can give you this high, this sense of gratification that doesn't actually come from you and your soul. Like, this is very dark when it comes to eating the flesh of innocence. And it's sad that we've been programmed to be, so blasé about it, or whatever you want to say, where we don't see it as animal sacrifice and hurting animals, hurting innocence. Like, there's this disconnect between the dog that you have, the cat that you have at home, that for sure has a personality, right? They get excited when you come home. They can get sad. They have all of this range of emotion, and for sure that they want to live, right? Like, if you tried to say, okay, come here, little Spot, with a knife in your hand, the dog is going to be like, maybe I shouldn't trust my beloved owner because he has death in his eyes, and that's scary. Like, there's this disconnect between the pets and animals when they're all animals. They all have the same feelings and desires and emotions. They want to live just like us. So I really love this book and how it talks about all these details. And I kind of want to also mention why I talk about veganism so much is because it is directly impacting the situation that we are in. If we stop enslaving animals, we will stop being enslaved. These things are connected. Like I was saying, the ones that are torturing us, that are farming us, know that karma is real. They're not doing this to us while we just sit here and twiddle our thumbs and eat fruit. Like, we're not these innocent little victims that can say, oh, the government taxes us and hurts us and all of these complaints. It's like, what do you do to cows? Like, the cows are literally taxed from the day that they're raped into this existence to the day that they're spent and can't produce anymore. The bees are taxed constantly. Like, you steal from others constantly, but want to complain that the government steals from you. The balance of the scales, righteous judgment. Stop doing the evil over here. Stop taking from others, and then there won't be any karmic room for those to take from you. And so therefore, by them, if they would continue taking from you, even though you've stopped, you're twiddling your thumbs and eating fruit, you're not doing anything to harm animals, they would actually accrue bad karma for themselves. They're not stupid, so they won't do that. They're going to stop. It's very, very simple, if you want to say circle of life. Well, circle of life includes you being farmed. So don't complain when you're enslaved and your children are being eaten, because you're eating the children of every other species. Ooh, that's hot. David D says we're getting pushback from vegans. They don't want religion mixed with veganism. Yeah, I actually posted in this group called Vegan Group a religious quote where Christ was basically calling these people pagans for partaking in the Passover, and that it would be better that they wouldn't be born since they're doing such evil things. And a lot of people just immediately jumped on, and they don't want to understand that Christianity, along with every other mainstream religion, has been infiltrated and corrupted, and that the original teachings of Christ are 100% vegan. Like, there's no question about it. Like, there's even verses that say, I eat of the fruit of the trees alone. And if you are a believer of mine, if you're with me, then you partake of the same things. Like, we don't eat anything from animals or things gotten from strangled beings or any of this stuff. So for me as a vegan, I don't understand why they wouldn't embrace that and use anything. I don't care what religion that you're from. If there are vegan texts in there that I can get you to go vegan, that's what the end goal is. And I kind of want to talk about also how people are like, oh, if you go vegan, you'll lose your personality because that's all you talk about. Well, I do talk about other things, and actually I love discussing other, flat earth, just like I recently posted on Facebook, flat earth, free energy, inverts running the world, like all this stuff is very interesting to talk about, but at the end of the day, that's not going to change. You waking up to flat earth isn't going to stop the actual farming of humanity. It's just going to change that that it's happening, right? All these flat earthers are frustrated. They know the truth of our reality, but what has that actually changed? It's not going to change the actual situation we're in. What you need to change is what you're eating, because usually people are, 3 meals a day, snacks sprinkled throughout, and every single bit of it comes from an animal product or the flesh. Like, how often do they eat a snack of fruit? As when I was a non-vegan, I didn't eat that much. It would be a rare, occasional thing with fruit, some weekday that we would, weekend or something, we would buy a watermelon and have it cut up, and we would eat it all in that day. It wasn't the standard practice was meat, potatoes, and vegetables. That was kind of that wasn't every night. Obviously, my mom was very, mixed it up all the time, but the standard American diet. So anyways, what we're doing dietarily is the number one reason that we're in the situation that we're in. So it's kind of fitting that I have my Make Shasta vegan hoodie on today. Hey, Aspect 761, how's it going? David G says Buddhist teachings. Ask how their future Shambhala is a vegan golden age too. I actually do plan on asking the guy that I met up with here about his, vision of the future. I kind of saw that you were in the, Mount Shasta Conscious Group or something, talking to him about that. I didn't really read the conversation, but I know that there is a lot of overlapping with it, and I'll definitely ask about his view, because we definitely seem to be on the same path about, wanting things to be free. The earth provides things for free, and none of our souls came here to work a 9 to 5. Like, these people that are making our drinks could easily be replaced with robots so that they can go and live their lives and do, I don't know, maybe they want to paint, maybe they want to make music, maybe they want to just doom scroll on Facebook. Like, I don't really, that's what every individual person's soul came here for different purposes and what they want to do, but none of us came to do this. So yes, it's kind of scary to talk about robots replacing humans when we're in this economy, when these psychopaths are running things. But in the new earth, in this new world that we're creating, like, we've been so conditioned against, obviously I'm not promoting their new world order, but the order that we have now, this world order that we're in now, really sucks for all of us, except for, those at the top that are being psychopaths and living up, right? We need something new. We need a new way of being, a new order. And again, not their order, because their order is a totally totalitarian. Humans are enslaved and completely controlled, and if you step out of line, you're not going to be eating. In the world that I'm talking about, we are more like the Garden of Eden, where, like, we could have all these fruit trees and shrubs and stuff growing freely in our cities, vegetables and all these things could be growing freely, not only all around us, but having like a grocery store where you can go in and just get what you need and not have to worry about making ends meet, so that you, again, can live and do what you came here to do. Whether you're an artist, a musician, an architect, or someone that just wants to be a mom, like, this is the world that we're trying to create together. Hopefully, we as in us, hopefully are with me on that, because I can't do it alone. Otherwise, it would already be done by now, because I really don't like the suffering. Like, if I could just wave a magic wand and end all of the animal slavery right now, like, open all of the cages and let everything just completely change, I would definitely do that. But unfortunately, it's not that easy. So David D says, the flesh of any innocent soul is unclean. By partaking, you consent to demons messing with you. Right. And also on a more physical level, not that's more spiritual, but physically, like, there's parasites often in these meats, and all sorts of other diseases like cancers and any disease that they were suffering from. You're going to be eating that disease, and it's kind of also interesting to see how different things, like, correlate. Like, people will say, "Oh, I have like osteoporosis or something," and it's like, well, you eat a lot of cow's milk, right? And then you look at how the cows actually develop osteoporosis because all of these nutrients are just being sucked out of their body. Like, I'm not a mom yet, but I fully understand. Like, when you breastfeed, like, your body is like, the nutrients are going from you to the baby, and God has made it to be a perfect, situation, to where it's not like taxing on the mom. But she hasn't been bred to overproduce milk like these cows. If you go and look at some of these, like, these cows can't even move because their udders are so big. Like, it is a horrible situation. And like I was saying, the nutrients are getting sapped out, and the cows often have osteoporosis themselves. So it's like there's a direct link between your osteoporosis and what you are eating and inflicting on others. So it's kind of interesting. Again, these demons work within these karmic principles, like, in some of these, not the in the homilies, but I believe it is in the Essene Gospel of Peace, Book 1, that it basically says that the devil, our enemy, will take tit for tat everything, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and he will require every single deed that you did, especially in the bad category, right? Like, he is ready to go at every single little bit, and he will hold everything against you. It's interesting in the Essene text, in the same context, really. It basically talks about fasting and how you, during the fasting time, you go away from humans. You're not like involved in society, and like just you kind of just go off into your own self separately. And it says to like seek the angels of the earthly mother, the angel of air, the angel of water, the angel of earth, and basically be cleansed by these various angels. And through this fasting and purification, that's how you can reduce your blemishes. Like, I don't remember, I think it might have been like, fasting like one day, your blemishes of 1 year will be blotted out. If you do the actual, fasting diligently, like you actually want it to be pure and clean. It ultimately comes down to will. And any of these spiritual powers, what just came to mind was like Reiki. The Reiki masters on this earth, like a lot of them charge hundreds of dollars for like one attunement, and the process is like you're supposed to be attuned like like 2 or 3 different sessions to be like a master. But the first Reiki master didn't do that. He fasted for, I think they said like 40 days or 2 weeks, actually. 40 days was Christ. But he fasted for an extended period of time, and by will, that's when he made that connection and got that power of Reiki to connect with that energy. Same kind of thing of pretty much anything, like wanting to do anything comes down to willpower. So this whole reality essentially boils down to will, and most people are asleep at the wheel, and are not, um, yeah, and are not actively creating something good. When you go along with the programming of the matrix, the false matrix, we should say, because there's two matrices. If you want to call this false paradigm a matrix, but the word actually comes from mother, this idea of the womb, like we're inside of her womb. And I really love that. There's nothing evil about that. Like I'm beaming with this. I just love the connection of maternity and parenthood and child, like just being with a child and motherhood and all that it encompasses. So yeah, connecting with the feminine divine has also really helped me in that manner as well, because the patriarchal religions are very much lacking that matriarchal balance, right? The proper balance is between a mother and father. Like, it's not like you're fighting each other, right? We're not balancing for fight. We're working together to do something, to build something together. All these agendas that we see today are trying to fuel this sex war so that we hate each other, so that each sex is the worst versions of themselves possible, and we have to resist that, as well as all these other agendas too. But yeah, anyways, the matrix, I really love that connection with being like inside the mother. My point was, if you go along with all of the false paradigm programming, you're kind of a zombie that's automatically by default doing the worst things that you can, right? You eat, you don't think about it, and really, that's all that they really need to do to enslave us, is get us to enslave others. Everything else is kind of just an added bonus to corrupt us, to turn us into clowns, to, make us their playthings. So, hey, red pill on steroids, how's it going? Are all female porn stars inverts and reptilian hybrids mixed? Yeah, to get to the top of any of these, most people already know about the bloodlines that rule our world. Their family traditions are to invert, and those inverts are how they can control our reality. Like, basically, by giving over control to an invert demon, that demon can take control of you, and like, especially the more control you give it, your soul's completely on autopilot. There's no resistance. The demon can just use you in whatever way, shape, or form that they want to do whatever they want with you, right? You see these celebrities that are promoted as these big hunks, these football, basketball stars, and then the next thing you know, they're like parading around in a miniskirt. Wow, I mean, it's an invert, but so there's kind of this like it's a girl putting on a dress. So I don't know, not really sure why we're all freaking out about a girl wearing a dress. But ultimately that demon's just putting on a show, and that soul is taking a back seat so that they can be rich and famous and be these big names, to receive the praise, to have access to drugs and whatever sexual degenerate fantasies that that the demons attach to them convince them that they want. It ultimately comes back to this demon possession and these demons living vicariously through you and trying to convince you that it's actually you. If you already know that, if I sit here and the demon whispers something and I know that, it's like, I know that didn't come from me. That's not my desire. That's not coming from my soul. So you separate yourself from these other thoughts that are not yourself. And it's really helpful to combat in spiritual battle to know that, right? A lot of people kind of leads into people that struggle with depression and suicide. It's like their soul is getting crushed down. So yeah, there is parts of it that's coming from the soul, but that demon on your shoulder is going to be sitting there making it feel way worse than it is, to try to encourage you to jump off the ledge so that they can get gratification from that. They're going to sit there and laugh as you do something that your soul didn't want you to do. So I think it's important to know. Kyle says, check our group chat really quick. Let me see. What about you attending the chess club? I attended a chess club today, and they were able to give ratings after each day. You smoked everyone. Oh, that's so cool. The highest rated person there is 1,000, and I didn't play against him. Okay, nice. That's awesome. Yeah, speaking about the Reading Simul, I'm kind of all over the place, but everything kind of is leading to a different path today. But the Reading Chess Club Simul with Matt is still kind of up in the air when we're going to be able to do it. He has a lot of things going on, and so do I. Like, it seems like it's one thing after another. My summer, I've already talked about, like, my septic system went out, and now I had, like, my Jeep died. All of these things is like a constant struggle to persist, but it has not been canceled at the Simul. Definitely will be happening. I have like a lot of giveaway prizes at my house, and there's other things that I wanted to get as well, to have like a little goodie bag thing to give to all of the players. So yeah, just so you know, that's kind of been postponed. And hey, Fallen Angel, what's going on? Let me just see. David D says the first Reiki master fasted for 3 weeks. Oh, 3 weeks. Okay. I got that really messed up, didn't I? And prayed and got the healing hands ability from God. I love how the Essenes actually call it the healing hands. And there's actually a different technique to invoking the healing hands. Like you say a prayer, and then you use different elemental symbols. Like imagining a red triangle for fire, a blue or a green circle for earth, a blue triangle for water, and a yellow triangle for, or yellow circle for air, sorry. So there's 2 circles and 2 triangles. And then you actually draw them on your palms to activate the energy, and you put your hands together, and it's like a really powerful experience. It's one of the like very first times that I really felt like an energetic movement, and feeling was with the Essene healing hands. So I really love that. Thanks for bringing that up. Jesus in 40 days, fasting plus prayer to get his abilities. Yes. And other texts talk about how fasting, showing that you have this willpower, impressing the spiritual world, it can lead to various breakthroughs, whether it's these amazing, spiritual powers, or even just more simple breakthroughs in your life in general. Fasting is a very powerful form, essentially, of magic. So, yes, the law of limitation, limiting anything, right? Limiting your food intake, limiting your water intake. Dry fasting would be like the most intense form of showing your will in this manner. So Kyle said, "Oh, I already said hate a fallen angel." Kyle says, "So I ordered a few chess books, a chess clock. Oh, nice! You're getting a chess clock and an annotation notebook. Yay! That's so cool. You have to send me a picture of your chess books when you get them. I'm still in middle, well, not really the middle. It's been taking really long because it's a correspondence game, so I am still hammering it out with a master and hoping that the game will speed up, but obviously you can't make other people go faster. And this isn't Blitz. This isn't something where you're trying to speed through. I'm, getting out a chessboard and making the moves and trying to play out various lines to see what the best play is. So that takes time. Carol says, I'll DM you the books I got later. Awesome. Thank you for that. Let me just check on one other thing because I wanted to talk. I already talked to you about the Clementine Homilies. There's also another verse that I opened up to earlier that I was going to read to you. Oh, this is actually a topic that I kind of wanted to read at home and do a pre-recorded video so there's no distractions. But in the Clementine Homilies, it also talks about some various myths and their interpretation. And let me just kind of skim forward to thought. Basically, linking Chronos to time, Rhea being a flowing, watery substance, and how Poseidon and Era, all of these different things, Era being air, right? Basically got turned into these questionable characters in mythology. And it's really quite interesting at the end here that it says, after he explains all of the things, which I'll explain to you in a different video because it's like 4 pages of text, it basically says, now since these things can be clearly, profitably, and without prejudice to piety, set forth in an open and straightforward manner, I wonder you call these men sensible and wise who concealed them under crooked riddles and overlaid them with filthy stories, and thus, as if impelled by an evil spirit, deceived almost all men. So he's basically saying that, they took these principles of physics, essentially, of these different elements of the earth being created, and turned them into these, gods that were sexually deviant and killers and all of these other different myths that we have about them. For either these things are not riddles, but real crimes of the gods, in which case they should not have been exposed to contempt, nor should their deeds have been set before men at all as models, right? So either they are real crimes and we shouldn't be putting them on display to be models for everybody, or things falsely attributed to the gods were set forth in an allegory. And then they whom you call wise erred, in that by concealing under unworthy stories things in themselves worthy, they led men to sin, and that not without dishonoring those whom they believed to be gods. My computer's going to die. So I thought that was really interesting about, how these stories have been made up to demonize gods and lead humans astray, and how we're supposed to see all of these, people that wrote religious texts as something to admire. Give me 1 second. Oh. Okay. Aspect 761 says, is coffee allowed in the vegan diet? Yes, coffee is vegan. You've been drinking black coffee. Okay. I am not a fan of coffee myself. I drink hot tea. But if I do have a latte, I drink it with oat milk. Oat milk is like really more thick and creamy, and it's really sweet. So it makes a really good substitute for milk. But anyways, whew, I thought that was really interesting. This also talks about different, like the story of creation. It talks about the giants and stuff like we already talked about, how basically God, according to this, gave this law, to the giants and demons. You don't mess with them unless they mess with you. Otherwise, you do. You do it, right? Um, For the exhalation of blood and the libation of wine satisfies even these unclean spirits which lurk within you and cause you to take pleasure in the things that are transacted there, and in dreams surround you with false fantasies and punish you with myriads of diseases. For under the show of the so-called sacred victims, you are filled with dire demons, which cunningly conceal themselves, destroy you, so that you should not understand the plot that is laid for you. We're in a spiritual battle, and how many people are ignorant of this? They don't even believe that demons are real or that the soul is real. They think that they're just evolved as slime and that their consciousness is only coming from their minds, and when they die, it's lights out. So obviously, they're going to be willingful. I mean, you're ignorant. I don't know if you're willingful, but you're not stopping it, right? Like you're just flopping around as a puppet for these demons because you don't even know that something's happening to you. You think that all of these desires and whatever is coming from your own self, so you indulge and you go into that, especially if you're a godless atheist and you don't believe that you're going to be judged or there's any consequences for your actions. Why not just go full force down the path that the demons want you to until you're doing extremely horrible things? I'm not encouraging that, by the way. Obviously, I am against doing evil, and atheism is very ignorant, but these children have usually been gotten at a young age. They're grown children, and they haven't been able to question their programming. They have all of these very convincing scientists that have indoctrinated them to the point where, we already know it all. There's no questioning it. If you question what we know, then you're the dumb one. It's like, all right. Anyways, the passage here ends with, for under the guise of some injury or love or anger or grief or strangling you with a rope or drowning you or throwing you from a precipice or by suicide or apoplexy, sorry, I don't know how to say that, or some other disease, they deprive you of life. So they come in, they get you to desire these things, and while you are consuming those things, you are literally going to be killed in some other way. There's other texts that aren't from the Christian standpoint that talk about, your tomb becomes their tomb, or their tomb, in your body. You become your own grave by eating dead things. So, anyways, hey, so what? How's it going? I am probably about to wrap it up here. I have some other things going on, like I already kind of mentioned before, the WeSock Festival that's coming up. I will probably just talk to you about that next Sunday, and we can talk a little bit more about what it's about, and maybe more about religions and how they're having these overlapping things. Um, But also next weekend is the annual Weed Festival here in town. I live in a town called Weed. It was named that because of Abner Weed, who was this logger involved with foresting, whatever. But the dispensary takes advantage. They shut down the street, have vendors, live music, all that stuff. So I do plan on checking that out, and we can go live and finally check out the cool phone that Kyle sent me. Thank you, Kyle. We'll see how that goes for that event. Um, and then on Sunday, we'll meet up again for a live. So I don't remember if I finished my thought. I was kind of getting ready to end, but I remembered how these people are saying, oh, if you go vegan, you're going to lose your personality. We still have our personalities. We just understand that veganism and the animal suffering, it's like literally all around us. People in this room, they're eating flesh, they're drinking cow's milk. Like, it's a constant thing. And if we don't speak up about it, then nothing's going to change. Yeah. I am very proud to be that annoying vegan. As I've said before, the animals on their way to slaughter need us to be the voice for them, not just sit by and just, wait for the world to change, because it's taking too long, especially for the ones that are on their way to slaughter. They don't have the time for us to mess around. So, yeah, we do still have personalities as vegans, but we are just very passionate about protecting animals and speaking up for them, and we're surrounded by it. So it's a constant reminder, and I have to say something. So, anyways, I'm going to catch up with you next week. David D says, exactly, proud to be an annoying vegan, right? I have my Shasta vegan hoodie on, and underneath it, I also have my Cassie Go Vegan hoodie or shirt. I should make a hoodie out of it too. So yeah, everywhere I go, that's what I want to tell people, because that's what's most important. We can talk about other things too, but let's just make sure that you don't have dead flesh in your mouth first, that you're not in the middle of slicing a cow's throat, and then we can have a conversation about the shape of the earth. There's a more important topic at hand when you're in the middle of hurting an animal. So what says, yeah, David, I'm confused. Oh, well, so it's a coincidence. There are no coincidences in our reality. But yeah, his name is Abner Weed. I didn't know that's a last name. Yeah, I'm not sure if I have a picture of in the dispensary. They actually made this. Oh, here it is. They made this. This is supposed to be Abner Weed, and they made this painting, and they have it actually in the dispensary of him being like this gangster. So it's kind of, I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, no coincidences in our reality. But yeah, like David was saying, the festival came much later because pot used to be illegal. Uh-oh. Meet you on Mars. Meet you on Mars. Okay. And Nana, I have a serious question. Well, what is the question before I go? Well, we're all waiting. Kyle, I'm talking about the phone. I was saying thank you, because I was saying that I'm going to go live at the Weed Festival this coming weekend. So I'll be getting to check out the live streaming from the phone. It's a lot easier when I'm here to just do it on the computer. So, yeah. I need to get a better HD camera for my computer, but it's not really been on my priorities list. Hello, meet you on Mars. Are you going to say the question or what? We're waiting. Hey, Steve Tar, how's it going? Hopefully you're doing well. Oh my gosh, it's snowing. So what says, what does that mean, for example, in this context? Maybe they planned to have these types of festivals like that. I mean, it's not really, I don't know, I'd have to think about any more deeper meanings to that question, because I really haven't thought about it. So I'm not sure. Obviously, these entities like the Jinn, they live for a really long time, so they can basically, for instance, with scriptures, they can write prophecies and then be along to have the puppets enact them, to create them, to make them happen, right? Especially when these are the inverts. Michon Mars says, I've watched your inverse investigation video and I'm sold on everything, but what about real women who copy their trends that tempt us? How do we resist that? That's a very good question, because I know that it's especially hard for males to resist these things. Sexual. Obviously, women have become more sexual over time. But anyways, sticking with just the males, um, that's a good question because you've been programmed to see these sorts of things as beautiful, right? Like big fake tits and extremely fat padded hips, like Kim Kardashian and Nicki Minaj with these huge like side saddles, and we've been programmed to see that as beautiful. So it's really quite hard to break out of, and that's a good question about how to resist that. I'm also not a male, so it's kind of I can't exactly tell you from experience how to um, resist those things. Unfortunately, our society is the way that it is, and women feel the need to. We've also been programmed to see these things as beautiful. There needs to be some serious underlying change where females start to love what they are, and um, you know eating all of these unhealthy foods also uglifies us. And these inverts try really hard. Like, so there's two things at the same time, these agendas to make real women like not take care of themselves, and we're eating all of these improper foods that that have negative effects on our bodies, right? If you see someone that like is on high fruit, they're glowing, they're just like very full of life, their eyes are vibrant, they just look amazing, right? And there's different like there's a difference between what we're eating too, and the fact that these inverts try so hard, they're doing the Botox, they're doing the plastic surgeries and everything to try to pass at the same time. So it's definitely a hard paradigm, and my point really was that we need to have a fundamental change of society and the programming and what we see as beautiful and not seeing fake as beautiful. So it's going to be easier said than done. But I definitely appreciate your comment, and I'll think about it more, and try to come up with a better response, and maybe even have some responses from the guys in our comments, because that's a really hard one. Yeah, even for us girls, we've been programmed to see the FTMs on TV as attractive, and like I don't personally like see these huge buff dudes as like really attractive, but I know a lot of girls do. And then there's guys that, that will kill themselves in the gym and even take steroids and stuff to become this impression of what they're programmed to see. So it's definitely a hard thing to deal with, actually. Um, David D says, I bet she uses the phone a lot more than any book. Hey, no bets here. That's a sin. Just kidding. Beach on Mars says, I'm sorry, I've been watching you since early 2021. Oh, there's nothing to apologize for. It's nice to talk to you. Yeah, it'd be nice to have an actual community of physical people like that believe the same things and can create that community that we all long for. But in the meantime, at least we have this here. Steven says that you definitely deserve a pro camera and setup with the mic. Yeah, I do actually have a proper mic at home. So I'll have to get that set up when I actually get my, room set up for it. David D says, real women try to copy the inverts, but they never become stars. All the top tier are inverts in Satan's world. Yes, exactly. Real women try to copy the inverts, but they have female flaring hips, not tall, thin male bodies. We are programmed to see men as sexy. Exactly. Yeah, there needs to be some fundamental changes in the programming, not just how we see beauty, but also with how we, teach children about sex, and how, public school education is kind of like, here's what it is, here's some condoms. Like, sex ed should be something that's sacred, right? Like, not just go make these connections with anybody, and because that leads to this. So, um, Beach on Mars. Oh, that's really sweet. I also wish you nothing but the best from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate that. It's really nice to hear some positive things. I'm definitely trying to become better and more positive in general, not like a toxic positivity like in the world, but just becoming the best version of myself possible and just acting how I know that, being the queen. So, yeah. So what says, did you just say uglifies? Yes, I did. Are you going to come at me with a Noah Webster dictionary and give me a ticket? But why do they say the opposite? People often say fruitarians look bad. Well, kind of also depends on what stage you're in. If you are going through like a detox stage, if you're transitioning from the standard American diet to fruitarian, like, yeah, you can get depleted and have, fasting symptoms. I myself, when I first went vegan, I dropped a lot of weight and I looked basically like a skeleton. And that was because I wasn't eating, like at that time, I didn't do like I didn't want to eat any of the processed foods or any of that. So I did change myself in the wrong way. I should have went with fruits and vegetables, but I didn't. But my whole point is that there's a time that you need to detox and get rid of all of that stuff. But then you can also put on muscle and be perfect on fruits diet because that's what our creator intended for us to eat. So yeah, some of these, like the strongest animals on earth, eat only plants. So strength definitely does not come from eating babies. David D says fruitarians look young typically. There are some that push it too, that they're not just fruitarians, especially ones that you see in the mainstream media. Like there's some anorexic raw vegan that like supposedly died recently. It's like, well, first of all, that's not even a real human. They're just putting fear porn in the news so that you are afraid of fruiting and feasting, fruit feasting, mixing these two, and you stay over here eating all of this stuff that's going to kill you. There's a lot of different like reverse psychology type things, even with the new world order diet is veganism, like trying to keep us in this old order of enslavement, right? There's an old order of enslavement, a new order of freedom, and that's what we need to bring in. That's what the new earth is all about. I don't go along with like new age like teachings just in general. There's a lot of really awesome truths in the new age teachings, but there's also the bad, just like with everything. But even people that follow the Bible, like your Bible talks about 1,000-year reign of Christ where things are better. So why are we fighting? Why are you labeling me new age for talking about this, right? It doesn't make any sense, because if you believe what your own Bible believed, then we would be on the same page about the 1,000-year reign, right? So yeah, and even as David D mentioned before, Shambhala, and in Buddhist culture, in all of these other cultures, prophecies of an end of time where the suffering ends, right? We come out of the darkness and into the light where we're all living in peace and harmony, and that's what I'm here to manifest, and hopefully you are too. Steven says it's all prejudices. Most raw vegans are fruitarians. Look great. Yes. So it says, I don't know. There's some that don't look great. I agree. There's people in all groups that don't look great, right? But people definitely tend to say what I said, so it's a bit confusing. Yeah, and also we're comparing it to what we're programmed to see as beautiful with the standard American diet, right? We're used to seeing usually obese and unhealthy all around us. And then when you see someone who isn't obese, then you're like, oh, they look bad. It's like, you need to scrub off your eyes, dude, because your eyes are like, that's what God didn't intend for us, to be unhealthy and like miserable. Like these people that are on like my 500-pound life. It's like, that is not a life that your soul is proud of living. That's not what your creator wanted. We shouldn't be having like pride in this. We need to be getting you to be healthy, like just fixing the situation, not being proud of it. But anyways, David says next week professional setup. That would be really nice. Mechanic on Mars says, how did you wake up and what are some sources you recommend to further educate myself? I started waking up, Flat Earth was kind of like the first thing that I woke up to, but there was an intro with that to the inverse and demon possession. But my awakening has mainly been focused on like the spiritual side. Like I have zero Flat Earth books, and I have like tons and tons and tons of religious texts, like scriptures, not just from Christian based, but like I have the Gita, I have other like religious texts. I have a book of Ninana that Kyle sent me. Like, so I have a plethora of religious texts, and that's kind of been my focus. So it kind of depends on what topic you kind of want to wake up to. It's really hard for me to recommend sources because I don't trust people. And even when it comes to like books, the book might have really, really, really great info in it, but there might be some like things that are questionable slipped in. So it was kind of like everything requires discernment, and so it's really frustrating and hard to recommend things to people in general, because even the Gospel of the Holy 12 like talks about eating honey and circumcision, and I'm not really sure if there's anything else that comes from the top of my mind, but yeah, so it kind of depends on what what topic you want to look into, I guess. I assume you're a flat earther probably and know about free energy and the inverse running our world you already said you knew about. So those are kind of like the main big ones in my book. And like I said before, you can know all of these things and then not change anything until you actually go vegan, and that's when we'll actually be able to change the world and the world around us, by planting seeds. And other people like, oh, why did so and so stop eating meat? Like, oh, and then you tell them, and then now they have to go home and think about why they're eating the flesh of innocence, and it just plants the seed. So what says maybe it's prejudices? I think some people are definitely seeing what they want and reaching real hard, right? There's actually one of the vegan, like a bodybuilder, which I don't support any vegan celebrities or like PETA or any, like most of the bodybuilders are inverted. So they're like taking testosterone and steroids, and they're really unnatural and giving people an unrealistic expectation of what a fruitarian could be. But they posted that they took the same picture and posted like, oh, as a raw vegan going strong, and like all these meat eaters came on and said, you look bad, blah blah blah, negative, negative, negative. And then they went on to a meat post and said, I'm a recovering vegan and look at how great I am. And all the meat eaters were like, you look great, blah blah blah, like positive, everything was positive. And it only the same picture, both different places, getting attacked, getting praised. It just depends on what caption you write with the picture. So definitely. Aspect 761 says the spinach and green leafy vegetables are great for skin. Okay. I tend to not eat spinach myself, but I know that plants in general have such great medicinal purposes that that's what we really should be based on. So David D says being the best queen you can be. Exactly. So what says the soft greens? I'd say like baby spinach. Okay. So what says exactly? But people just look at new fruitarians and they run with that. Oh well, people just don't think deep, right? Wow, you guys are so far ahead of me. Okay. The chloroform. Wow, the chloroform in plants. Yeah. The chlorophyll in greens that purify the blood and assist in eliminating toxins. So it says no tickets from me, just awards for your creativity. I'm not an actually person. Okay. Kyle says, save the animals, save the world. Yes, exactly. I need to make that phrase into a t-shirt design. That'd be awesome. So it says maybe there's a rule for herbs too. Yep. Fruitarians into natural hygiene often say they're toxic. And I probably find it easy to believe because there's some decent arguments. But the Bible, and not only, speaks well about herbs. So I think there's a good rule for them for healing. The argument is often the body just heals itself. So I don't know how to fully explain, but I do believe in the Bible, so I take that seriously. Plus, I know some things we need to also go by faith because we'll never understand everything rationally. Um, well, I guess there's two things going on. I would definitely say the original herb is completely pure, but when we're, watering it with fluoride water and spraying chemtrails and spraying pesticides and like all of these other elements, that would be when these things can become toxic, especially when I think they say like tea in specific really absorbs fluoride a lot. So that would be taking something that's really good and making it bad by adding it to it, right? Stephen Tarr says our species specific diet is to eating fruits. We're not meant to cook food exactly, and eating, dehydrating, and clogging food exactly. The Athene texts basically say not to eat cooked foods, not to eat frozen foods, to avoid all of these extremes and basically eat it just as Earth prepares it. The sun has its own heating elements and adding energy to, that apple that's hanging from the tree. It's getting all of this, energy from air, the sun, all these things. And that is exactly how we're supposed to ingest it, not take it and cook it and do all this stuff. Curlian photography in specific talks about, well, at least demonstrates, I guess, um, the life force energy of things that are cooked versus not cooked, and how much, more intense the life force energy is before you start to cook it, to kill it, right? Just kind of makes sense when you start to think about like the, yeah, it's just all cooking it and the life force energy diminishing. It's kind of just like thinking of yourself like getting cooked. You're just gonna like sit there and shrivel up, and it's like, it gets worse over time. So any kind of physical matter being exposed to these types of extreme heat or cold is not going to be good. David says Kyle, non-vegans don't realize how connected veganism is to saving the world. I mean, any future world that isn't vegan isn't heaven on earth. And if we're creating hell for others, what do we deserve, guys? Hell, exactly. So I don't want humans to suffer, and I don't want animals to suffer. But if we're going to cause animals to suffer, then we deserve it. I'm not a judge that's like, oh, humans can just do as much evil as they want, and we just deserve to be treated like royalty and not touched. Don't harm us. Don't make us sick. Don't cause any inconvenience for us because we're just made in God's image. It's like you are not acting like it. You're literally acting like a demon, so you're going to be treated like one. Anyways, Steven says steroids should be banned. I agree. So I am not sure if I saved that post, but I might, well, are we even connected on Facebook? I might be able to find it again on Facebook. It was quite a while ago, so. Meet Me on Mars is cooking a form of witchcraft. Yes, it is. Just kind of like you think of these little girls like going and gathering sticks and leaves, and they're like, oh, we're making a concoction. It's like, it's the same concept with cooking, right? You're gathering your herbs, your spices, and all these different things. And all of these things kind of have general principles that people associate with them. So you can actually look up online like kitchen witchery, kitchen witchcraft, and they'll tell you like, I don't actually know, so I don't want to give you false information where they'll be like, oh, if you want to, add happiness to your dish, you might add, I just want to say time for some reason, like I'm just making up an example, but it's like you want to add these types of qualities to your dish, and then you add them in. And also like when you're stirring, if you stir clockwise or counterclockwise, that's adding either type of these energies in. And your intent, most people know, like if you get a home cooked meal, that the person that made it with love. It's different than going to, a fast food joint where someone threw it in the microwave uncaringly and tossed it onto your plate and slopped it all together. It tastes different. You can feel it. You can actually feel that love, that witchcraft. So these are very tangible things that people want to like say that witchcraft is evil. It becomes evil if you go into your kitchen and take your belladonna, and that's how you pronounce it, and you make a concoction that kills someone. That is evil, okay? Like, well, I guess it depends, because if it's like a pedophile or an animal abuser, then you might have justification to do that. But my point is that you can do good or bad with the same tool, like, so. Anyways. Kyle says, I think it would be pretty cool to try bread baked by the sun as portrayed in the Bible. Yeah, the Essenes, a lot of them have that and talk about it as well. So it says, I think they call them naturally toxic and that their bitterness is a natural sign that they're not meant for consumption. I definitely would agree with that. And sometimes like those toxic elements can actually help get rid of parasites and demons and stuff. But I definitely agree, like even, I hate to say it, onions, the fact that you're like crying when you cut it is like, I don't believe that God made that for us to be consuming. Like an apple doesn't make my eyes water. You know, these things that you're meant to eat don't. Spicy foods, you guys, I'm coming for you next, because if you are sweating and crying because of something, you probably shouldn't be eating it. There's not a hill that I'm gonna die on. I really couldn't care less if you eat onions and spicy foods. As long as you're not hurting animals, that's really what matters. So, anyways, David D says, I'm trying to cut out bread, converting to low-carb tortillas when I have to scratch that itch. Okay. It's pretty cool that they can make all the different low carb, but like it's just actually amazing what can be made with plants in general. Yeah. So anyways, so it says, oh, okay, maybe I should connect with you on Facebook because I've never actually followed you there. Yeah, you should. I'm just in Honest Snow. I do have a page that is linked to this with Queen and Honest Snow, but I am more active on my actual personal profile. Best vegan substitute for beef to start going fully vegan. Are you interested in buying it or making it yourself? I personally make my own burgers, and honestly, some of the vegan substitutes, when you cook them, they smell like dog food. Which, I mean, that's either to say that, yeah, we're eating dog food. And if you want to say that, why are you giving your dogs food that's gross? Why isn't your dog, this beloved family member, eating food that you are grossed out with to begin with? Or maybe it's, you know, they're eating the same things that we are, and it's good for them, and it's good for us, and it just smells bad. I don't think that our food should smell bad. So there's a fundamental issue, but I also don't like it being compared to dog food. We need to fix it. It doesn't seem to have the same effect when you actually go to restaurants because you're not actually cooking it. You don't smell it, so they can pass off really good and taste really close to flesh. I mean, I don't even remember what flesh tastes like. I only know what vegan substitutes taste like because I've almost been vegan for a decade now, so I don't actually remember the taste. But some of them can get very close depending on. It's hard to recommend something that I know is gonna smell really bad when you cook it, so I can't really do that. David D says Impossible does smell like dog food when it's being cooked, and so does Beyond. I don't know what it is. Oh, Meat Lovers Burger. Oh yeah, from Morningstar. I don't think that one smells like dog food. I haven't had that one for quite some time, but yeah, I remember that one being my favorite at the time. Steven says the best substitute is to whole food plant-based diet for your beef. Let me just give you this BioLife vegan burger recipe. This is what I use on the mountain, and people, I don't put the wait, that's not it. I don't put the barbecue sauce on it. I usually only serve like what I eat, and when I eat a burger, I usually just have ketchup and mustard. So here's this. Basically, you make mashed potatoes, and then in a separate dish, you saute onions, leeks, carrots, garlic, and then add it together. And the potatoes act as a, combining agent to stick it all together. And then you make little patties, you cook it, and my stomach is grumbling like, yum, this sounds so good. So getting close to the full moon events. The first one is scheduled for July 21st. Before that, access to Old Ski Bowl is closed by a gate, so we don't go up there. It's a long walk to the spot, or otherwise we would do it. But anyways, I would love to see you guys there if you want to come out and meet me and see what happens under the full moon. I'm kind of expecting a larger crowd because it's like at the beginning of the season, the first full moon of the season, and a lot of people usually are in town at that time. So we will see what happens with that. I'll obviously be having more posts and stuff coming out when we get closer to the dates. But if you are coming from out of town, you might want to mark your calendars now so that you can come out and meet me. Anyways, Boca Burger is a veggie burger. Aspect 761 says, oh yeah, and there's also a Dr. Prager's California burger. Let me see. One of Dr. Prager's burgers. I was kind of surprised because they actually have like little bits of peas and stuff in the actual burger, but they are really quite good too. So I think that these are those. If you're looking for something that doesn't taste or smell like dog food when you're cooking it. All right. Something just flew into my eye. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week at the same time, same place.